very good morning. Welcome to Bryant's Beat, the only show born at the apex of freedom, entrepreneurship, and nomadism. It is a Saturday, isn't it? And from what I am hearing and seeing, it is supposed to be a very, very nice day with the temperature getting up to the 70s today. Not bad for mid-October. And I guess it is mid-October when we look at the 12th of the month. You can't go 24 days and still be in October. ABC told you what they wanted you to know. Now it's my turn. My turn to tell you what I'd like you to know. A new Patriots era begins tomorrow right here on WBSM and down in Foxborough. It begins here at 10 a.m., kickoff a little bit after 1 o'clock. The Drake May Experience. That's what I'm going to call it, the Drake May Experience. As the 1-4 Patriots host the 4-1 Houston Texans. It promises to be ugly, but it may not be. A busy day in Boston. The Bruins play this afternoon. The Celtics have a preseason game tonight against the 76ers. What else? Well, let's see. We have 74 shopping days before Christmas. It is Yom Kippur for those that celebrate. No popo, no problems. Active yet peaceful early this morning in downtown New Bedford. Bye-bye Carmine's Restaurant. New ownership taking over very, very soon. On the other side of 18 Highway, a huge white tent at City Pier means the Chowder Fest is just hours away. What happens after several years of bleeding red ink? At Boeing, it's 17,000 pink slips. As we hold our collective breath for SouthCoast Rail, an MBTA bus damages several, count them, 10 cars. Today is Indigenous Peoples Day. Yesterday was Coming Out Day. Yeah, I haven't heard of it either. New Bedford police persuade a fisherman to take down an anti-offshore wind flag. I'll tell you more after the Brian's Beat quote of the day. Jim's going to tell us about something fishy on Town Square Sunday. That update coming up in just a bit. The Bitcoin Biz Barometer, next half hour. Monthly Fee RX brings us the Brian's Beat quote of the day after we learn, a little bit more about today, October 12th, 2024, Indigenous Peoples Day. It's also Cookbook Launch Day. I suppose if you've got a cookbook and you're looking to get it published and out there and people to pay for it, or at least to read it, today is the day to launch that cookbook. Drink Local Wine Day. Okay. Have a glass. I don't like wine. I don't drink wine. I guess I'm the bore of the party. I don't drink wine. But it's drink local wine. I guess if I were to drink some, I'd make sure I go out and buy a bottle of local wine. If you're going to do some wine drinking today, get a local bottle. Take care of the local vintners. Free Thought Day. Well, that's me. Free Thought. Free Thought Day. International Day Against Digital Rights Management. And they'll think of just about anything to commemorate. International Day against digital rights management. Whew. It's difficult to say. International Moment of Frustration Scream Day. See what I mean? People, when they're frustrated and they scream, that's nothing to celebrate. They're frustrated about something. Let's not make a day out of it. International Newspaper Carriers Day. Now, I think we had one of those national newspaper carrier days a couple of Saturdays ago. Maybe it was last week. Nothing like the good old paper route. Did you ever have a paper route? You know, I think when they started delivering newspapers by, somebody driving around, an adult driving around, that also ended the afternoon or evening newspaper. A lot of people get the newspaper, but they don't have a chance to read it in the morning when it comes in the morning. So by the time you read that newspaper, that news is almost 24 hours, maybe even more, older. Really? How about if we get back in the afternoon newspapers? One of the greatest things about online, they update all the time, WBSM.com. We update our stories when they need to be updated. International Newspaper Carriers Day. It is National Chess Day. Okay. National Costume Swap Day. I know people are getting ready for Halloween. Might be a good idea to swap the costume. Save yourself some money. Of course, I guess these people that decide that they're going to do seasonal stores, like these Halloween stores that pop up in Dartmouth and in certain places. Probably not good for them if you're swapping costumes, but hey, you got to save a penny somewhere. Maybe that's the place to do it. What else do we have today? Oh, National Farmers Day. So maybe when you go out to get that local wine, you also go to one of the local farmers. Local Farmers Day. And I got to tell you, the farmers need it. National Gumbo Day. To the folks at Gumbo Restaurant, I don't think they mean you, but you got a great restaurant, but it is National Gumbo Day. I think woman friend went to Gumbo's the other day with her brother. Gumbos. I like gumbos. National Motorcycle Ride Day. And today, from what I understand, temperature is supposed to get up into the 70s. Maybe you take the motorcycle and ride over to the Chowderfest. Yeah, Chowderfest today. Not crazy about Chowderfest being on a Saturday. That's probably because I work on Saturdays. National Savings Day. Bet there are a lot of people that would like to save a little money. National Savings Day. Do the best you can. Pulled Pork Day. Pulled Pork Day. Spanish Language Day. I suppose if you're thinking about living in the United States for any period of time, Spanish is the language to learn. To go along with English, but Spanish is it is without a doubt the second language, and in many instances it is the first language here in this country. Not trying to make a statement over whether it should be or should not be, but heck, you go around, there are a lot of people speaking Spanish here in the Commonwealth, here in the New Bedford area. Same with Fall River. lot of people speaking Portuguese, but a lot of people speaking Spanish. Universal Music Day. Universal Music Day and World Arthritis Day. Guess what opened in the United States on this date in 1773? You will never guess it. The first insane asylum. Told you wouldn't guess it. (1792). The very first celebration of Columbus Day held in New York City. That's right. Besides it being Indigenous Peoples Day, it is also Columbus's birthday. And I could get into my little rant about why the heck do we celebrate Columbus Day? You've heard it before. Do you really want me to go down that road? Well, okay, I will. The guy didn't even land in the United States. And we celebrate Columbus Day. 1892. The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, recited for the very first time in many classrooms. You know, when I read that, I thought to myself, how much financing did the schools get for people to start saying the Pledge of Allegiance? Nothing against the pledge. I'm just saying, you know, how do you convince a nation to do that? 1892. It's not like people were picking up a telephone. Not like there was a USA Today, so everybody was reading that particular newspaper to find out this information. How do they get many classrooms in the United States of America to start reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? By the way, how many is many? We moved to 1928, the Wayback Machine, to 1928, Boston. Children's Hospital becomes the first hospital to use an iron lung. 1928. Do you have a friend that is celebrating a birthday today? And would you happen to know if said friend was born in 1999? So why do I ask? I have 3 friends. One, Stephen. One, Amanda. And another one, Dick. Stephen is my age, so he doesn't qualify. Dick is my former father-in-law's best friend, or at least when the former father-in-law was alive. So he doesn't count. 1999, we ended up with our 6 billion person on planet Earth. 1999. Hard to believe it was that long ago. And I think, don't we have over 8 billion right now? Phew. 17 are killed, plenty of damage after suicide bombers crashed into the USS Cole. That happened on this date in the year 2000. 2017, married at the hip, at least the political hip, Israel announces its decision to withdraw from UNESCO. On the same day, not long after, the United States of America said, hey, we're pulling out of UNESCO. Monthly FeeRx brings us the Brian's Beat quote of the day. You have allergies, diabetes, high blood pressure, plus take prescription drugs for your heart. With this service, you could get all of your meds and have them delivered for one small monthly price. monthlyfeerx.com. And our quote of the day comes from Emerson. Not Emerson Boozer, not Keith Emerson of Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Yeah, the Emerson. Good manners are made up of petty sacrifices. Good manners are made up of petty sacrifices. The Brian's Beat quote of the day. So let's hear from you at 508-996-0500. That's how you get onto the program today. Let me get into this one before we go into our break. I'm saving, so you don't go anywhere. Okay, here we go. I couldn't believe it when I saw this on television, and no, it didn't happen right here. It happened up in the Boston area. You know how there's always something going on with an MBTA commuter rail train or one of the trolley cars, or in this particular case, one of the buses? Well, at least 10 vehicles, were damaged in Boston's South End earlier in the week when an MBTA bus somehow had one of its side panels open up. It really wasn't the driver's fault, or at least that's what the driver is saying, and I tend to believe the driver. So the driver is going down the street, the panel is opening up, and it's hitting these cars. A couple of the vehicles are deemed to be totaled. Now, apparently somebody let the bus driver know what was going on, because he was clueless. But he did stop, and as bus drivers are trained to do when there's an accident, you get on the phone and you call your dispatcher to let the dispatcher know what's going on. So then the dispatcher sends a supervisor down to the area. Now, what I did not see, and I tend to believe that the MBTA caused the damage, they got to pay for it. But it's probably one of those things where you, the owner of the vehicle, you have to pay and then wait for the MBTA to reimburse you. What an absolute pain. But here we go again. One way or the other, we have to figure that the MBTA is going to pay. And they may say, well, that money is coming from a different account than the money that's going to take care of SouthCoast Rail. Money is money. You don't think that if Peter needs money, he talks to Paul and gets it? And I think that's what's going to happen. The MBTA is losing so much money right now, having problems getting derailed trains off the track. Oh, my goodness. Any bets? Anybody willing to bet that come May 31st, SouthCoast Rail is not running? Anybody want to take on that bet? 508-996-0500. The other I'm going to take a break, and then I'll get into the other story that I want to get into during this hour when we come back on Brian's Beats. We are here, and so is Jim over in Studio 6 and 7/8. Time now for the Town Square Sunday update. Good morning, Jim. How you doing today?
Good morning, Brian. Good morning, everyone. Here's what's happening this week on Town Square Sunday. We've got details on a local fundraiser to benefit St. Jude's Hospital. The group is called the Helping Hands of Farmers and has raised nearly $500,000 over the past 23 years. October 19th will see a night of dining, dancing, entertainment, and fun at the New Bedford Sports Club on Acushnet Avenue. Two organizers, Tony Ambolina and Joe Pereira will tell us how you can get involved. Also, lots of interesting and educational activities are happening in October and November at the New Bedford Fishermen's Heritage Center. Director of Programs Joe Ritter will have details. I'm Jim Phillips. Join me for Town Square Sunday, Sunday morning at 6 on 1420 WBSM and 99.5 FM.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jim. You know, Hurricane Helene was devastating. That happened a little over 2 weeks ago. Milton was as powerful, if not a little bit more. I think there was a higher expectation that Milton would be, and certainly the wait for it to hit land was certainly there. There's a new report out. New report from some European group. Just happened to catch this on the television. And the report points the finger at climate change for the power of Hurricane Milton. It didn't say much about Hurricane Helene, but apparently climate change made Hurricane Milton 2 times stronger than it would have been. Now, I raised my hands up, not so much in disgust, but at my ignorance. How do we know? How do the experts over in Europe, how do the experts know that climate change made this hurricane 2 times stronger than it would have normally have been? Does anybody question? I'm not trying to say that there isn't such a thing as climate change. I really don't know. I mean, that's not my expertise. But vaccines weren't my expertise. And look where we are today compared to where we were in 2020, about the same time, a little bit later on in 2020. And then as we got into 2021 and then 2022, well, we see what's going on with the vaccines, yet they keep on pushing it. Climate change, isn't that one of the reasons that we need those big propellers out in the ocean? Let's see the report. What else does the report says that climate change is also responsible for 10% more rain associated with Hurricane Milton than would have normally happened. Again, I'm not saying they're wrong. I guess what I'm looking for is the calculus, the algebra, the proof, and the proof that a layperson like myself or you or somebody else who's not into meteorology, some kind of proof that we can say, oh, yeah, it is climate change, and we need to do something, the correct thing about climate change. 10% more rain. Really? Why not 5%? Why not 20% more rain? How do you know it's 10%? How are you able to calculate it? What's the calculus? I don't think that's asking too much. They always ask us for proof. We can sit here and we debate whether Donald Trump or any other political figure is telling us the truth. What about when it comes to these European experts who can tell us about Hurricane Milton? I mean, I know it's me. 1-800, I'm the idiot. I freely admit it. 508-996-0500 to get on to Brian's Beat. And you are first today. Hello.
Hello, I need a cab to 100 North Main Street.
In what city, please? Is that North Main in Fall River, or is that North Main in Fairhaven?
No, we got to go a little further west and a little further north. But I'm not going to give you that one.
The Great Northwest.
That's it.
Really?
How you doing?
You're all set?
Yeah, I can get around, I think, for now.
Yeah, the thing about the Northwest, you could be on a street that is something Northwest, and all of a sudden it turns out to be that same street going east-west.
Well, it also depends where the Northwest is when they name the street. Is it Northwest Main Street, or is it Main Street Northwest?
Oh, my God. Isn't that something?
Yeah, they go to Phoenix. They have that, and you're like, oh, I'm in a totally different end of Tucson, and you're like, how did that happen? And it's because depends where you put the Northwest in the line. But
yeah, that always drove me crazy, and people were giving directions. Well, when you get to the Safeway, turn left, and now I got to look for Safeway instead of looking for a street. No thanks.
And you had to do it when you had a paper map, a spiral-bound paper map, right?
Yes.
See, you were asking about delivering the newspaper. I used to work for the Providence Journal, and I used to deliver. Originally, I delivered the bundles for the kids. They stupidly gave me at 18 years old a 4-wheel drive van that said Providence Journal, and it was at my house all the time. So of course, that was a party vehicle. But I used to take the bundles out to the kids. And the highlight of that job, which started at, I did it during college, and it started at 11 p.m. and went through till 7 in the morning. So it was that shift. And then I would go, if it was summertime, I'd go to the beach right after that, and I would just sleep on the beach for 7 hours. But the highlight of that job
in the company vehicle.
Oh yeah, it was gas paid and everything. I was in heaven. But I'm sure they got a lot of promotion because it was all around Newport with it. So everyone was reminded about the Providence Journal. But I ended up delivering bundles during the February 28th storm, or whatever. That was the blizzard of 78. And I was the only one on the road. And that was because it was 4-wheel drive. And still delivering the bundles for the kids when the piles of snow were over the top of the van in some places in Middletown.
And who's out looking for their paper on a blizzard day?
Well, back in those days, people called if you didn't make it before 7 a.m.
Believe me, yeah.
Now back then it was 78 to 80 when I was there. I think, you didn't get your paper there. You got the phone calls started, and luckily my shift ended.
I went to a Red Sox game once, and I pretty much gave up the paper out after that. And too many phone calls. My mom was very upset. She knew I went to the game, but she said, "Look, I don't need these people calling."
Yeah, I only got called on because I have the motor route for whatever. 5 or 6 kids couldn't make it, or they couldn't cover a route. So I ended up having like 150 or 200 papers to deliver. So after delivering the bundles, I'd have to fold papers up at the main office and then, make them into, flat Frisbees. And then I would open both windows and then drive and throw. But occasionally I would hit, those old aluminum doors?
Yeah.
The screen doors on the front of the house, and that nice lower aluminum panel. If you hit that thing square at 6 in the morning,
it makes a noise.
The entire street would wake up.
Mm-hmm.
Kabang. And, I wouldn't finish the rest of the papers on the street. I would just, hightail it out of there. But, I usually hit the main walk, but I had a good throwing arm. Man, I was the best throwing arm I ever had in my life. So
my guess is that job and trying to toss the bag in cornhole would probably go pretty well.
Oh, ultimate Frisbee.
Yeah, but
yeah,
I mean, well, I just don't see the spin the same as I do with the Frisbee.
it was hard to spin up a newspaper in the cockpit of a van and then to get it out the window, which was a few feet away, and it'd still make the distance. There's a lot of engineering or math going on there when I was throwing them. But
you ever tried doing it on a bike?
Oh no, I never did a bike route. A lot of my friends did.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Yeah, that would have been tough.
You learn. I had a good arm.
On the front. Put your paper bag on the front, or your bag on the front of the handlebars.
So what I would do is I folded the newspapers first, so it was a lot easier to throw like like a boomerang.
Right. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I had a friend that he was on his BMX bike, and he would clock his time every day. And I was pretty sure he was going to be an accountant or a NASA physicist or something, because he literally would write his time down when he'd start, and then he'd do his whole paper, would come back, and then clock himself out. And I was just like, you're crazy, But hey, you were talking about, the latest climate change claim on the hurricane. And, it's really tough. If you go back even 10 years ago, we might be able to believe when an authority, quote unquote, puts out, this was due to this reason, and we should be concerned. But, with YouTube and with the internet and with all the research we can do now, and, places like WBSM looking stuff up and Chris looking stuff up, it's tough to believe these quote unquote sources anymore, because, when you think about things like, why is, who's the head of Microsoft there? Bill Gates. Why is Bill Gates involved in population control? You go, first off, that guy's expertise is in computer science, but why is he now involved in population control?
Because, and I can answer that one.
Go ahead.
I'm an expert here. No, because he's also involved in food.
Well, there's a good one. Mm-hmm. Why is the computer scientist involved in food?
Well, because food is a very profitable business. Everybody needs it. It's a profitable business.
Well, okay, so let's go down the path a little bit. So why are European countries like the Netherlands and France, namely, why are the governments trying to take away the land, basically the growing and the farmlands from the farmers? They're literally doing eminent domain, or trying to do eminent domain on the farmlands to just take it away. Wouldn't you think that with all the population, we'd need more farmers and farmlands?
So, yes, it would be the answer to your question, but maybe they want to control the food.
Oh, there you go. So the computer scientist that did a great job with Microsoft wants to control our food sources and what we eat. But this is my point. And you could do the same thing with pharmaceuticals. You could do the same thing with big food, which is trying to put sugars in everything we eat. You could do the same thing with the U.S. is turning over its decision-making ability to the World Health Organization. But that's a shocker. We've got the NIS, National Institute for Science, and then we've got the CDC, and they've decided to give it up. They still want their budget, but they're going to turn over all decision-making to the World Health Organization, the one that got COVID wrong. Yeah, it seems like it's just a giant cabal. And when I hear, had another hurricane, this source of this is purely,
it's a European group, and my bad for not catching the name, but I definitely caught the European group part.
Well, I'll leave you with this. There's a YouTube video that's about 5 years old. It's great. It's a scientist that retired from England, and he said that the climate change he didn't debunk it. He just said that it's based on really bad data and getting worse. And his hypothesis on the whole thing is that there's 11 major institutions that are measuring climate. And they're all around the world, and they're competing for funding, different countries, et cetera.
Surprise,
and
surprise.
And he said, it's really simple, is that if the one in the UK in Birmingham, at the University of Birmingham, has more disastrous numbers of climate change, that if the other institutions can't prove better, they change their algorithms to make theirs look worse. And so you have this continuing path of, disaster, because each one of these measuring stations is trying to have worse numbers than the other ones, because that's how they stay, employed.
Sure. Well, I was going to say, doesn't that sound like government? Hey, thanks for the call.
All right.
I appreciate it. 508-996-0500. Hello.
Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Brian.
You're bringing up the, I actually had to chuckle a little because you brought up the delivery of newspapers this morning as a kid. And it's funny because not that long ago, you really sometimes don't think about that stuff, but not that long ago, I was at a family function and there were some teenage kids there. And I started talking about how my son, who, when he was like around 12 years old back then, got a paper route with a little friend of his. And, we lived in a residential area where it was all 3 tenement houses. So there was no, being on a bike and throwing the newspaper like you do, with the one family homes or out in the boondocks. And, he would have to go into every house, leave the paper on the first floor, second floor, third floor. And he would deliver, he would carry the papers around in like a little, not little, but a little bit good size red wagon. That's how he delivered the papers. And, the Sunday papers, like you very well know, I mean, those things were
thick.
Gigantic.
Yeah.
They were heavy. So his father on Sunday morning would go meet whatever corner for when the Standard Times truck delivered all those to help, because, the wagon just couldn't handle all that stuff. And, he made quite a bit of money at first, but, like everything, it got to a point, people weren't paying for the paper. So it would come out of whatever money he was making.
That's right. If you didn't oh, yeah. Oh, yes. I do remember that.
Right. And, the ones that actually delivered, the one family homes, they always seem to have made out, but it got to a point, the 3 tenement homes, you would get 2 that would pay and 1 wouldn't. And he'd have to, he'd keep going back and or they wouldn't answer the door until, their subscription got canceled. But my point is, just while I sat there explaining it or telling the story, these teenagers were looking at me. If you could see the expression on their faces, like, really? Like really? They used to, just imagine if they had to do something like that today. They won't even, to make a couple of bucks, they won't even pick up a shovel to help a senior shovel some snow, let alone if they had to go through something like that nowadays.
You bring up such a great point about kids not wanting to do a paper route. I'm wondering if, the management of the circulation department reports to whomever his or her manager is, and they can't keep paper boys or paper girls because they don't want to do it anymore. I mean, look, I had mine for a whopping 7 or 8 weeks because it was too time consuming. I went to a Red Sox game and I got phone calls like crazy. Plus, as you brought up, folks not always wanting to pay. And, after a while, you have to say for $7 a week, which wasn't bad, right, in 1960s money. But was it really worth it? And then as the weather started to get colder, was it really worth it?
Well,
no.
Again, and again, I proceeded to explain. It was a 7 day, like every day, like 365 days. There were no, you don't get the paper today. It doesn't matter that it's raining or snowing or there's a blizzard. I mean, they had to be out there to deliver that paper. Granted that when the weather was bad or if it was raining pretty bad, that his father would help him, which he was lucky at that. But you're right. I I started to see that people were not paying. It wasn't even not getting their paper. I mean, because I really knew that, he was delivering them. It was the people not wanting to pay because, I guess they saw it was a kid and figured, you get those people out there with that mindset. Oh, it's a kid. I can try to get away with it. And I basically said to him, forget it. With the amount of money and the headaches that's going on here, it's not even worth it at this point because you're losing money instead of making money. So, that's when he stopped. But, I mean, if I can't really remember because he's, he's in his early 40s. So I think he did it for about a good year. But after that, his father, too, was like, I'm done with this because, this,
yeah.
But,
I think we are explaining why the paper people now deliver in a vehicle and they're adults. And it's usually a side job onto something else. Hey, thank you for the call.
Yeah.
I do appreciate it. 508-996-0500. It's time now for the Bitcoin Biz Barometer, where we measure the universal crypto marketplace. Bitcoin is up $423 from last week at approximately this time, $62,650. Ethereum, $2,425, up $18. Binance Coin, 577, that's up 18. Solana is up $1 at 145. XRP even at 53 cents. Dogecoin up a penny at 11 cents. Tron back into the top 7 at 16 cents this morning. Just to let you know, if you went out and bought Bitcoin last year, so I'm getting these numbers, the latest numbers as far as another site has for Bitcoin, October 9th, 60,592. Of course, it's 62,650 right now, so it's up a bit. Last year on October 11th, that Bitcoin was $26,000. So you're up more than $33,700. And if you bought that Bitcoin on October 12th of 2022, wow, you're up over $40,000. Just goes to show you. 508-996-0500 is how you get onto the program today. Yeah, that paper route, 7 weeks, didn't last me long. But you know what? I listened to the other callers, and the one thing that I have come to agree on is, yes, it is so easy to give up that paper route when the weather is getting bad and you have to do it 7 days a week. But it does teach you business skills. You have to collect money. You can also talk to people to try to get them onto your route in order to make more money. So there are pros and cons to everything. 7 weeks was good enough for me in that particular case, but how do we get others to want to go out and do dirty work? By the way, delivering papers really isn't dirty work, but it's one of those things you have to do on a consistent basis, like 7 days a week. ABC News is going to let us know exactly what they want us to know in about a minute or so. Before we get there, we've talked about this whole thing dealing with climate change and this European report. What I'd like to talk about during hour number 2, if you are so inclined, is this idea that New Bedford police think it's okay